This is every unusual tank destroyer used in World War II, from improvised open-topped conversions to heavily armed casemate vehicles, including wheeled, rocket-armed, and reverse-mounted designs. In total, this catalogue spans multiple combatant nations and dozens of non-standard solutions to the anti-tank mission. Some reflected advanced gunnery and effective battlefield doctrine, others revealed industrial strain, rushed adaptation, and technological compromise under extreme wartime pressure. Improvised open-top tank destroyers. As armoured warfare evolved faster than production cycles, many armies turned to rapid conversions that placed anti-tank guns on obsolete or captured chassis. The WWII was a German tank destroyer mounting a 75mm Pak-40 gun on captured French tracked chassis. It was designed to provide mobile anti-tank firepower without waiting for new vehicle production. Deployed primarily on the Eastern Front and in Western Europe, it suffered from thin armour and a high silhouette. Production was limited by the availability of captured vehicles and its vulnerability to artillery and infantry weapons. The Marder II used the Panzer II chassis fitted with either a captured Soviet 76.2mm gun or the German 75mm Pak-40. It served as an interim solution against increasingly well-armoured Soviet tanks. While effective at long range, its open fighting compartment left crews exposed. It was gradually withdrawn as more purpose-built designs entered service. The Marder III was based on the Czech Panzer 38T chassis and armed with similar anti-tank guns. It offered better mechanical reliability than earlier Marder variants. Despite respectable firepower, protection remained minimal. Many were eventually replaced by fully enclosed successors. Reverse layout and non-standard designs. Some unusual tank destroyers featured unconventional layouts that diverged from traditional armoured vehicle design. The Archer self-propelled gun was a British tank destroyer mounting a 17-pounder anti-tank gun facing rearward on a Valentine tank chassis. This configuration allowed rapid shoot and withdraw tactics without turning the vehicle. It proved tactically effective in defensive roles. However, the unusual layout complicated crew operation and limited offensive flexibility. The Italian Semavent DA-9053s mounted a powerful 90mm anti-aircraft gun on a modified tank chassis. Intended to counter heavy Allied armour at long range, it offered excellent firepower but minimal protection. Only small numbers were produced before Italy's armistice. Most units were destroyed or captured shortly after deployment. Heavily armed casemate tank destroyers. Some unusual vehicles emphasized extreme firepower at the cost of mobility or production efficiency. The Nashorn, originally designated Hornus, mounted the long-barreled 88mm Pak-43 on a lightly armoured chassis. It was capable of destroying any Allied tank at long range. Deployed mainly on the Eastern Front, it relied on distance rather than protection. Its thin armour made it vulnerable once detected. The Elephant, initially known as Ferdinand, was a heavy tank destroyer using a Porsche-designed chassis armed with an 88mm gun. It featured thick frontal armour but lacked a machine gun in early versions. Combat debut at Kursk revealed severe mobility and reliability issues. Later modifications improved survivability, but numbers remained limited. The Jagdtiger was the heaviest armoured fighting vehicle of the war, armed with a massive 128mm gun. Designed to destroy enemy armour at extreme ranges, it suffered from mechanical failures and logistical strain. Few saw effective combat due to fuel shortages and breakdowns. Its battlefield impact was limited by operational realities. Rocket and recoilless concepts. Late in the war, unconventional weapons were explored to counter armour without heavy guns. The Sturmtiger mounted a 380mm rocket mortar on a heavily armoured chassis. Intended for urban combat and bunker destruction, it was occasionally used against armoured targets. Its ammunition was scarce and reload time was lengthy. Only a handful were built and operational use was rare. The Panzer was a desperate German conversion mounting multiple Panzerschreck launchers on obsolete light tank chassis. It was intended for short-range ambush against Allied armour. Protection and accuracy were extremely limited. Very few were completed before the war ended. Wheeled and half-track tank destroyers. Mobility and production efficiency led some nations to mount anti-tank weapons on wheeled or semi-tracked vehicles. The SD KFZ 230 for quarters mounted a 75mm PaK-40 gun on an 8-wheeled armored car chassis. Designed for mobile anti-tank defense, it combined speed with significant firepower. Armor protection was minimal, limiting survivability. It saw service late in the war with mixed results. The American M3 gun motor carriage placed a 75mm gun on a half-track chassis. Intended as a rapid response anti-tank platform, it was deployed in North Africa. Its high profile and thin armor proved problematic. It was soon replaced by more effective designs, captured and hybrid designs. Some unusual tank destroyers emerged from the reuse of enemy equipment. The Su-76R was a Soviet tank destroyer built on captured German Panzer III and Stug III chassis. It mounted a 76.2mm gun and a fixed casemate. The design allowed rapid reuse of captured hulls. Mechanical complexity and limited spare parts restricted long-term service. The Panzer T-34R was a German conversion mounting an anti-tank gun on captured Soviet T-34 hulls. It offered good mobility and firepower. Production was inconsistent and dependent on battlefield captures. Maintenance challenges reduced operational longevity. Light and ambush-focused tank destroyers. Some designs prioritized concealment and defensive ambush over armor thickness. The Hetzer, officially Jagdpanzer 38T, was a compact, low-profile tank destroyer with a sloped casemate and 75mm gun. It was intended for mass production and defensive warfare. Its small size improved survivability, but cramped crew conditions reduced efficiency. It remained in service through the end of the war. The Achilles was a British modification of the American M10, replacing the main gun with a 17-pounder. While not radical in layout, it represented an unusual hybrid solution. It significantly improved any tank capability. Its open turret still left crews exposed. Experimental and limited use vehicles. Several tank destroyers saw only brief or experimental service. The Romanian TACAMA-2 mounted a captured Soviet 76.2mm gun on an obsolete light tank chassis. It was designed as an expedient anti-tank solution. Armor protection was minimal. Only a small number were produced and used briefly on the Eastern Front. The TACAM T-60 followed a similar concept using captured Soviet light tanks. It offered limited combat effectiveness against newer armored threats. Production remained very small. Most were lost during Soviet advances. This concludes the complete catalogue of every unusual tank destroyer used in World War II. Across improvised conversions, reverse-mounted guns, rocket-armed vehicles, wheeled platforms, and heavily armored casemates, these systems collectively illustrate the intense pressure placed on wartime industry and doctrine. Some achieved tactical success through innovation and adaptation, while others exposed the limits of rushed engineering and constrained resources. Together, they represent a technical record of how armies sought to counter armored warfare during the most industrialized conflict of the 20th century, preserved here as a closed and complete historical reference.